Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya salah. Hayya salah. Hayya falah. Hayya falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi azza wa jalla. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amubat ayyuhal muslimun. And that is, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. The perfect praise belongs to Allah, the guardian evolver, the cherisher, keeper, and sustainer of all systems of knowledge. We render all praise to him, and we seek his help, and we ask for his forgiveness for our confessed shortcomings. We put our complete trust in him. Mighty and sublime is he. I openly testify that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah. Allah alone, the one and only. And I also openly testify that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Allah's last messenger prophet to us. And this is verified in the Holy Khoran when it says, Rasul Allahi wa khatma an-nabiyyin. It says that he is the messenger of Allah and the seal of the prophets. So we ask that Allah's peace, his blessings, and his highest exaltations be on Prophet Muhammad, upon his family, his companions, the righteous all. On you Muslims be peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Amubat. And what follows this excellent salutational salute when we mention Muhammad, when we mention our Habibi Prophet, the prayers and peace be upon him. And when we say the prayers and peace be upon him, or sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are adhering to the command in the Holy Khoran when it says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslim. It says, O you who believe, send your blessings on him and salute him with all due respect. So dear Muslims, I advise you as well as myself to fear Allah and obey Allah. Have taqwa and have the highest regard for God and obey God. I want to first thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for letting me be here today to give the Jumu'ah khutbah with my extended family of believers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has indeed blessed each and every one of us to be here on this prescribed day, this obligatory day that he has given to no one but the Muslims. And it's not because the Christians or the Jews didn't have the chance to worship as a community on this day, because they had the scriptures before the Muslims. This is a known fact. So they know the importance of Friday. They know that Father Adam, alayhi salam, was created on this day. And they know that this is the day that man's intellect and his purpose on earth was given rise to. And they also know that man died on this day. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to gather together as believing Muslims with the intent on devoting this short time to focus on him alone. The Holy Khoran says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jumu'ati fas'au ila dhikrullah waqtaru bayya dhalikum khayrun lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. So it says, O you who believe, And the call is proclaimed to prayer on Friday. Hasten earnestly to the remembrance of Allah, and leave your affairs that is best for you if you but knew. Saddaka Allahu Atim, Allah the Mighty has spoke the truth. But when you look at this ayat, when you look at this ayat in particular, you see that it addresses the believer. It says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu," it addresses the believer. You know, it didn't say Muslims, because we know that everybody is born Muslim. And our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he verified that when he said that everyone was born Muslim, but the world makes them a Christian or a Jew, etc. This ayat, it addresses the Muslim believer, the Muslim mu'min, you know, the one, the Hanif, you know, it addresses them, you know, or the true in faith. So, based on my calculations, it shouldn't be a Muslim in the street right now. They should be on this floor right now, you know. And if they're not on this floor, they should be on some floor in some masajid somewhere right now. There is a saying, and this just came to me, that if you are on the front row, that you get the blessings of a camel, and if you're on the second row, you get the blessings of a sheep, and then on the third row, you get the blessings of a chicken. Someone told me that, and I always remembered it. So, but back to what I was saying. So, great importance is it is great importance on getting to the Salatul Jummah. Great importance is placed on that, and then, you know, is also great blessings in coming from a further distance to attend the Jummah. But don't be late, you know, because our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that those of you who come to the Jummah late, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very insignificantly. So we want to be on time, right? And this is true because if you consider yourself a believing Muslim, everything is supposed to stop right now. You know? You should be praying, matter of fact, you should be preparing for Jummah at the time of Maghrib on Thursday. That's when Jummah really starts. You know, you're supposed to be preparing what you're going to wear. You know, what sunnah prayers you're going to say. You know, how you're going to get to the Jummah. All of that starts on Thursday at Maghrib. And this is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this day, Friday, obligatory for us. Now, you can't serve two masters. And I say this because this seems to be a struggle for some of us, you know. And what do I mean? Now, I'll tell you this, that Friday is an important day for us Muslims, right? We know that. We bear witness to that. And it's an important day in the dunya also, in the world. It's important for them also. And only the strongest Muslims, you know, will leave their jobs or their places of business for no other reason that they put all their trust in their Lord. And they know that they won't miss a beat by paying tribute to the one who created all of this. This is easy for the believer. So this day, you know, this day is I would say is a test for us, because it's showing that we can take time out to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while being in the thick of things, while being in this rat race. So Friday is a major day in the world. People planning for the weekend, you know, they going to cash their checks. They planning to go to the mall and give it all away. You know, they planning to go to the club on Saturday. There's a bunch of plans that people had starting from Friday, you know. And then for some of them, they want to try to make it all up on Sunday. They want to sit in the church and try to make up for all the wrongdoing that they've been doing. So it's the disbelievers who chose the weekend for their time of worship, not Allah. Allah didn't choose that time for the weekend. Friday was the day that He chose for the day of worship. But they sought to tweak the laws of God to fit their own personal schedules. That's what it was. You know, they chose the weekend. And you know, the word weekend, and I've said this before, it really translates into it really means the end for the week, you know. But the so-called learned ones also, they changed the laws because of the simple fact that they don't trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, they don't trust that Allah will preserve their interests while they're worship. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that we are the last to come, but we'll be the foremost on Yawm al-Qiyam, the day of standing. though the former nations were given holy scriptures before us, and this was their day, Friday. I just said that. The celebration that was made compulsory for them. But they differed about it, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us hudah, guidance for that. And all the other people are behind us in this respect. The Jews have Saturday and the Christians have Sunday. But see, they're behind us because whereas they could have been out front, and it wouldn't even been a need for a prophet if they would have had stuck to the laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had put on them. Now, if you look at the way that they had designed to shape their religions, you'll see that they are set up in a way that their secular worlds cannot coexist with the spiritual world. You know, if it's and the bad thing about it, it's Muslims out here that's like that too. It's Muslims out here that want to separate the two. The two will never separate. But again, tweaking God's laws. But they, you know, and prime example, you have Muslims that leave their stores open, and they leave their stores open and everything that they can do. They don't stop on this compulsory day because their iman is weak. They don't have amana, you know, trust. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Waqtaru bay'ah. He said, stop all business. This is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Waqtaru bay'ah. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, has blessed you to have a business, right? Then you have to pattern your business hours, whereas your customers know that at a certain time on Friday, Rashid's is closed. You know, they got to know that Amin's stand won't be open. You know, the cash register is cut off. And don't, you know, and I see this too. Don't try to be slick and hire a Christian work for you on that day, you know, because they don't observe on Friday, because that disqualifies what you're supposed to be doing. You know, I just want us to be ever mindful that our obligation is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that obligation is the most important thing that we can adhere to. And the Jumat is just one of those things, and it's very important. It is so important that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you miss 3 consecutive Jummahs in a row without a good reason, then Allah will put a seal on your heart. See, Allah, he makes it easy for the believer, you know. And I know for a fact that there are some in here right now who have never missed a Jummah, or if they missed it for a legitimate reason, then Allahu A'lam, Allah is the all-knowing, you know. But they stick to the command of their Lord, and this is what we all should be doing. Now, look at how easy this is. Look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us. He has put us, the Muslims in America, in a position where our employers and even our military has to give us the option as a Muslim to attend Jummah. And even with that blessing, some of us deny the favor of our Lord. And I know this to be true because I work with them. You know, and I just was talking about this. I work with them. You know, it's funny how sometimes they see me, well, they used to, they don't do it now, but they see that when I leave my work on Friday, I work for someone, you know, and they don't know where I've been, but they know I'm gone. So when I come back, they say, where you been? These Muslims. And I said, I've been to Jummah. And they say, they let you leave? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, they let me leave. And even if they didn't let me leave, I'm going anyway because I'm obligated. I'm obligated to this. You know? Now, I recognize that, you know, everybody is not as brazen as I am, you know, but I believe so much in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the protection that he puts on the believer that I'm willing to put it all on the line. That's just me. Everybody's not like me. It's levels of man. But the question I ask is, do you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have made this day wajib for if we couldn't honor it with a free will? That's a question to think about. Some of us, you know, we can't sum up the heart or the courage to tell their employers or our employers that we want to take off for Jummah because we're scared that we might lose our jobs, you know? But my question is, where is the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who created this condition for you? You know, leaving my job site or any of us leaving our job sites for Jummah should not be a burden because it tells you in the Holy Khoran that Allah doesn't give you a burden greater than you can bear. Alongside the fact that this isn't a burden anyway, it's a command. You know, this Jummah is not a burden. some may, again, you may perceive that as being a little extreme, but didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, remember me, and I will remember you? But those of you who are too arrogant to remember me, for you is hell abased. This is what Allah has communicated to us. So it's saying remember him, but to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also means to obey him. Right? We hear and we obey. So our bosses cannot deny us anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't provide in abundance. If you try to deny me the worship of my Lord, you take money away from me because I am paying a debt to my Lord, then Allah will increase my provisions. He has proven this. Because whenever a believer loses something, Allah always replaces it with better. This is what we need to know. I know this to be true. Again, because the Holy Khoran, it shows the struggles of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it showed how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had rewarded him for the persecutions and the oppression of his people by doing what? By giving him the uncontested title of being the prophet for all of mankind. This was his reward for the trust and the iman that he had in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Holy Khoran tells us, it says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَّةً لِلنَّاسِ. Right? We have not sent you except but to all of mankind. And in his company, he came with Al-Kitab and his beautiful uswa. Understand, Muslims, and I'm not going to be long, but understand that the greater society is not God conscious. They are money conscious. So they are, or we can't expect them to be that compassionate or compromising with the people who want to be clean and pure. We can't expect that, them to be that way. But we need to thank Allah for the Constitution. That's what's letting us really sit here right now. Allah has made the way for us through the Constitution. But we can't allow ourselves to get wrapped up in that kind of mentality to the point that where the arc of religion bends towards our livelihoods. We can't get caught up in that. The arc of livelihood must bend towards the deen. That's what it is. And deen, when we look at it, when we look at the word deen, it means debt. So deen means debt. And the question is, who do we owe a debt to? The answer is Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is who we owe the debt to. And this is interesting because with this debt or with this deen, when your account is current, and it's up to date with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like coming to Juma, then you start to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bringing forth in full bloom the blessings that he provides for the Muslims. You see these things. And when the arc of work bends towards your way of life, your deen, beautiful things happen for you. You won't have to ask your boss for Juma. They'll remind you that you have to go to Juma. You can close your business now or close it when time go back or when it's forward. Whenever you close your business, you can know with full confidence that the people will wait for you to come back from Juma, and you won't suffer one bit because of that. When you leave your job, whatever work needs to be done, if you leave your job to attend Juma, the congregation of Jumat, when you come back, everything will be right there waiting for you. Allah knows how to hold time still for the believer, and we know that when we do these things, that we won't suffer one bit. The Quran says this. It says that if Allah touches you with harm, there is none who can remove it but He. And if He intends any good for you, there is none who can repel His favor, which He causes it to reach whomsoever of His slaves He wills, and He is also forgiving, the most merciful. Muslims, quite simple. Whatever is meant for you, it will not pass you by. Allahumma salli wa ala Muhammad wa ala Ibrahim wa ala Ibrahim wa ala Muhammad Majid. Allahumma barik wa ala Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid. All our send blessings on Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad, as you have sent blessings on Ibrahim and his followers. Surely you're the most glorified, the most praised. Oh Allah, bless Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad, as you have blessed Ibrahim and his followers. Surely you're the most glorified, the most praised. Let's make a personal dua. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. You get a little hot when you have on a jacket. it's 70 degrees outside. Scrum, bro. But now continuing on with my talk, and we talking about trust. But I'm going to a surah. The Holy Quran says that when you turn away from the things they worship besides Allah, you take yourself to the cave. Your Lord will shower you with His mercies and dispose of your affairs with comfort and ease. Sadaqallahu, I think Allah the Mighty has spoke the truth. So in this second part of the Juma Khutbah, I'm going to be long-winded with you because today, I want us to retain, what I've been trying to convey, and hopefully with Allah's help, we can apply this to our lives moving forward, inshallah. Because I believe that the way that the Islamic world is being viewed today, that we being a community, some of us being a community of Imam W.D. Muhammad, we have been viewed as the new prototype as to how Muslims should conduct themselves in the world. I'm not saying that's the only prototype, I'm saying, but we have been viewed as one. Well, I say this, right, so that we won't get the wrong, concept, but I'm not bragging or trying to put us above anybody else, because they're knowledgeable people in all the different madhabs, and, people, you may be on a different minhaj or whatever, but, but the way with Imam Muhammad's community, the way that the deen has been given to us, it is undeniable in how it has benefited and oppressed people in the United States by applying this logic of Imam W.D. Muhammad and tying Allah's book into the whole thing and the uswa of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Because that's what the Imam has given us, the Khoran and the Sunnah. But I don't want to get off track. I was reading the Khoran the other day, like I always do, and I was reading Surah Al-Kahf, the cave. And what happened, and I was reading about this one thing in particular, what happened with the youth when they went into the cave. And this was perfect for me today because it ties into what I'm talking about. And that's trusting in Allah. If you read this surah, you see that this surah, it gives you so much information. It gives you a whole bunch, and I'm not even talking about just the children in the cave, right? I'm talking about, it talks about Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam. But, but just focusing on the, I guess the part about the children of the cave, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is communicating to us in a great way as how we should be as in regards to Him. So in reading Al-Kahf, it talks about the youth and how they went to the cave to escape persecution, for their beliefs and to reflect on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this sequence that took place in their life, when you look at it, it really mimics Juma. I see Juma in what they did. And because when they were in the cave, they do what we do every Friday. They prayed. And they made a dua in particular. They said, Rabbana atina min ladunka rahmatan wa hayyi lana min amrina rashada. They said, oh Lord, bestow on us mercy from our own self and dispose of our affairs in the right way. That was the dua or prayer that they made. And you talk about trust. At that point in their life, they left it all up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, so the youth in the cave, they weren't concerned about their life on the outside of the cave. They weren't concerned at that moment. Because life at that moment wasn't good for them. And even if it was good for them financially, the trust that they put in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala superseded all of that. Right? Now, the Khoran tells us further down that in that surah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he put a veil over their eyes. So the youth in the cave, they weren't really cognizant of the time that they had spent in the cave. Right? Y'all read the story? They were so deep in reflection that to them, time really hadn't passed them by that much. You know, they didn't know how long they'd been in the cave. And I guess I'm just really trying to show you that or show us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects the believers. You know, you read the story, they talk about the food hadn't even spoiled. You know, they talks about the dog was still living, you know. They hadn't even really aged that much. But these ayats, they show how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change your situation for you in a way that benefits your life, even when you don't readily perceive it. You know? The youth didn't know that they would be held in honor when they exposed themselves to the world, to the dunya. They didn't know that. You know, they thought that they would be ostracized or persecuted or even killed. And this based on how they felt before they went into the cave, you know? And I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that, you know, the Quran speaks in duality, you know? And so it talks about the cave. It could be talking about a physical cave, or it could be talking about your mind too, being in deep reflection. This is what Imam Muhammad has told us. You know, but they thought they would have been killed. You know, they didn't know. But remember this. You know, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? He directed, and you notice in the prayer that they made, that he directed their affairs, and they were fine with that because of our amana, the trust that they put in him. You know, all of the prophets, messengers or the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've learned that they were victorious because of the trust that they put in our Rabbil Alameen. We know that our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the foremost in trusting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when nobody else believed in the oneness and the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his infinite wisdom. Even when they said that our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was majnoon, he was crazy. They said that, but he kept moving on the path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had put him on. He had amana, trust. Only a few believed in him thanks to his beautiful pattern, his uswatun hasana, and the trust that he put in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Example, Lady Khadijah, radiallahu anha, she was the Prophet's first wife, and she consoled the Prophet when he received wahi or revelation, and she was the first woman to accept our Islam. She had amana, she had trust. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was the first Khalifa. He was the Prophet's best friend and the first grown man to accept our Islam. He had amana, he had trust. Ali radiallahu anhu, he was the fourth Khalifa. He was the Prophet's first cousin, and he was the youngest and the first youth to accept our Islam because he had amana, you know. And as a result of them having this trust and this iman also, and the trust and the faith that they put in their Lord, all of them are sitting right now in the highest part of Jannah. Nobody can deny that. Nobody. So what does that tell us, Muslims? That tells us that the same trust that was instilled in the Sahaba of that time must be in us also. Quite simple. The trust that they had in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it must be practiced amongst us, because we can't move forward if we don't trust one another. If you have enough amana and iman to pray to al-ghaibi, you know, the unseen, that's one of the names of Allah, then the results of that is that it should translate in how we deal with each other, right? It also tells us that we must put these rituals into real practice. We say in our prayers that our physical, oral, and monetary ways of worship are for Allah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That statement implies that you accept and put your whole life willingly into Allah's hands. So your relationship with your zawj or your children, you have to trust in Allah. You know, your job situation, the energy that you put into that, right, and how that's going to occur you. You have to trust in Allah. The way you deal with your money, you have to trust in Allah, because whether you know it or not, the trust is really verified by belief. You know, it's verified by that. Imam Muhammad said that the society must encourage trust between the members of a society. And he also said that trust is a destiny directed condition. You know, everything is supported by faith and trust, Muslims. So it's time for believing Muslims to come together. And this is a time now for us to come together. And I'm talking about locally, regionally, nationally, and worldwide. And as members and I guess students of Imam Muhammad, we had to come out of this stagnation and not to separate anybody. I'm saying Muslims. I would say go so far as to say Muslims. We need to come out of this stagnation that we're in right now. And to do that, a trust factor has to be established, you know, amongst us. We have to trust each other. And then a trust factor has to be established amongst the imams also. You know, because when the imams can work together, you know, then the community or the masajids are stronger, you know, and then the people benefit more also. The character, you know, and I'm just thinking about, you know, present times, right? But at least since 9/11, but the character of our Islam has been dealt a heavy blow, and it's incumbent on us to change that negativity. You know, we have to do. That's our job. That's the mandate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put on us. He told us that we're the best community of people because we love what is right and we hate what is wrong. So we have to, you know, we got to accentuate that. That should be manifest in us, right? It was manifested in the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know. But again, it's been dealt a heavy blow. So we got to change that negativity. So when these organizations, the government, or these private sectors see us, they should be seeing a movement that's positively influencing life and progression. That's really what they should see. Because this idea of what they have with our Islam is not from the Ummah of Imam Muhammad. I can tell you that. And they know it. They know it. But they also know that it's been a slowdown in our progress. You know, and this has been happening, I would say, since the Imam passed. And why? Why has it been happening? It's because we won't trust each other. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you don't know a man until you work with him, right? And he said that because he knows that out of working together, you get to know the person. And out of that experience, you learn to trust one another, you know? And then when you trust one another, then you can live with one another. Being able, and I say this and I'll shut it down, but being able to coexist with like-minded individuals for the betterment of the community should be the goal of the Muslims, you know? And that goal can only be achieved through amana, through trust. And I will say this, that me, I look at the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the question was asked, what kind of Muslim was he? He said, I'm just a Muslim, you know? It's different variations of that hadith, but I'm just a Muslim, you know? So I'm in the organization of Imam Muhammad, but I love all Muslims, you know? I take from all Muslims. If it's good, I accept it. If it's bad, I reject it. That's just following the logic to its logical conclusion, right? So we have to learn how to trust one another. If we can trust each other and work with each other, and then we help each other. Like the ant, you know, the ant helps. One ant can't do it all, but a whole bunch of ants can build a whole colony. You know, a beehive. One bee doesn't work. It takes a whole bunch of bees to work and produce their honey, right? So again, Muslims, we need to work with each other. That's the message. Work with each other for the upliftment of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then out of all of that, remember, don't forget the trust that we put in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is better to trust than Allah? ربنا أتينا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا ربنا أتينا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة وحسنة وقنا عذاب النار. O Lord, grant us mercy from our own self and direct our affairs in the best way. O Lord, grant us the beauty of this world as well as in the afterlife and save us from the torment of the hellfire. Muslims, I thank you for letting me stand up here and give the khutbah today. If I said anything good, it was not from me. It was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I said anything wrong, that was from me. That was from my own soul. And I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives me for that. Akima to salam.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة قد إقامة الصلاة قد إقامة الصلاة الله الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكثر من أي شيء خلقه من نطفة خلقه فقدر ثم السبيل يسر ثم ماته فأكبر ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حملة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar. We want to thank Imam Khoran Mustapha Davis for that very concise and very needed khutbah. I don't have to repeat it. We have CDs for your convenience, but the key thing he said is very important. And we have to trust Allah. And he made emphasis on the importance that consistently, not every now and then, not when you want to, you gotta be to Jummah. The only way you're gonna develop and show you really believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you gotta be to Jummah. Every Jummah, you're supposed to revolve what you're doing around Jummah, not revolve what Jummah around what you're doing. Every Jummah, that's the only way you're going to see that you're a believer, the only way you're going to grow, the only way you're going to really learn this religion the same way I did, the same way he did. And I always tell all of you men that come here, you grow, develop, you want to get a khutbah, let me know. You can come and stand in front of it, same way he's doing, I'm doing. Ain't no big eyes, little U's here. There's no big eyes and little U's here. All of us are imams. All we have to do is develop ourselves, right? And then we can come stand right here in front of the believers, the same way all the rest of us do. But you can't do it unless you trust Allah. Don't forget your paper. You want a CD? CDs out there, papers out there. Pay some zakat. We appreciate your zakat. I'll keep. You got your CD downstairs from last time. Thank you, man.